Hello. For confidence intervals with proportions, um, under Canvas for Chapter 8, for proportions you want to use point estimate confidence intervals. And a lot of times it doesn't open, so then you click here. Some of the other ones just open, but this one usually does not. And then enable editing. Move it over here and open up the problem. Okay. I thought we'd try a few of them. So number 2, find the margin of error and 95% confidence interval for the following surveys. Round all answers to decimals. A survey of 500 people finds that 46% plan to vote for Smith. So 500 people. Now, when you're given the sample proportion instead, so if the number of yeses is given, then the sample proportion is calculated. If the number of yeses is not given, leave the number of yeses blank and enter the sample proportion directly. So our sample size was 500. Confidence level 0.95. And we were given the sample proportion 0.46. And then they wanted our margin of error, which is right here. Written as a percent, so you multiply that by 100. And then this would be your confidence interval. Now, once you manually enter sample proportion, it will no longer calculate. So you have to close it and open it again. Now, if we're putting in sample proportion, I think it'll be all right. But to put in yeses or nos, you need to open a new one. So if we look at the next one, part B, a survey of 1,500 people, 39%. So sample size 1,500. And we're keeping the same confidence interval, but then this changed to 0.39. Over here. Yeah, I guess you do have to. So even if you're putting the sample proportion, you have to close it and then reopen. Open. There it is. So for part B, a survey of 1,500 people, sample size 1,500, confidence level 0.95, sample proportion 0.39. And then the margin of error. Oh, it had worked. I was accidentally looking at the wrong answer. This is the wrong answer. This one's the right one. Multiplying by 100, 2.468. They want 2 decimal places, 2.47. Confidence interval 36.53. Yeah. Because they're writing the percent, you would multiply these by 100. Let's try another one. We'll look at number 3. Assume that the sample is used to estimate a population proportion. Find the 99.9% confidence interval for sample size 322 with 82% successes. So if we look over here, this go up. Sample size was 322. Confidence level 0.999. And successes 0.82. And then it's over here, so just wanted the confidence interval point, and it said not percents, use the decimal, and so you leave it in the decimal form. Okay, number 7 is the one you had sent. So let's go down to 7. Assume that a sample is used to estimate a population proportion. Find the 98% confidence interval of a sample size 370 with 260 successes. Now, since we put the sample proportion in, and this one tells us the number of yeses, I'm going to close this and open a new one. I didn't have to before because it was giving us the proportions. But if it gives the number of successes, you have to reopen. Sample size 370. Successes, those are the number of yeses, so 260. And confidence level 0.98. And so the 0.647 and 758. Then number 11. So for number 11, express the confidence interval 36.8 less than P less than 43.4. And then they want the proportion plus or minus the margin of error. To find the margin of error, we subtract these and divide by 2. So it would be 43.4 minus 36.8 divided by 2. So we get 3.3. That's our plus or minus part, the margin of error. Now to find this value, you take your smaller one and add the 3.3. And you get 40.1 plus or minus 3.3. So you take the lower one and add 3.3, or you could have taken this one and subtracted 3.3. Either way, you're going to get 40.1. So this number is halfway between these two. So then this would be your two answers. Now number 12 is going backwards. It's going from this to this. So to find your values, we have 13% plus or minus 3.8. So if we take 13 minus 3.8, and 13 plus 3.8, 16.8, and so this one's just going backwards.